Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Revenue Through Reputation show. I get to be the host. I'm Brandon Lee, and today, we're so many companies are struggling with cold outreach right now. It's not being effective or as effective as they want. And I get there's a lot of new tools. There's automated callers. There's AI. There's all kinds of personalization, and we're really what I see in the industry is so much is focused on making cold outreach more effective. But what we're going to talk about today is what I think is the real solution, what I've seen is the real solution. And it's the core channel is that buyers don't trust, they don't trust brands, they don't trust messaging, but they still trust people when they feel like they know them, that they get to come along for the journey. So we're gonna chat about that today for about 30 minutes or so. I want to welcome everybody. If you are on the podcast, thank you so much for joining. And if you like what you hear, please subscribe. If you really like what you hear, I'd appreciate the reviews. That obviously helps us get in front of more people. And if you really like it and you think it's good for somebody, capture a screenshot of it, text it to somebody and let them know what you heard and what you thought of it, and maybe encourage other people to join. And if you're with me in live, we're streaming live on LinkedIn. We're throwing it into Facebook even, and Instagram and YouTube. So if you're on live and you comment, I can see those comments. We'll pull them up on screen. If you have a question, we can answer those questions as well. And hey, you throw a comment on there, tell me where you're from. I can give you a little shout out and thank you for coming, because I do appreciate everybody that shows up. So Butch, I see Butch there showing up and says, nobody cares about seeing another company brochure on social media platforms. That is so very true. So, really want to get into today is why building trust is everything and how to build trust differently. Now, the challenge, I think, for most companies is that good morning, Jeff Leisure. Thanks for joining me. The challenge with trust is that we believe and we want to, and I get this, I want this to work too. It worked for me in past companies. Trust being built by sharing the company, by sharing the brand, by sharing the value proposition, by sharing what we do and sharing case studies and who we do it for and testimonials. It's logical. It makes sense. It worked for a long period of time. The challenge now is that it's not building trust. It's not building trust because it sounds just like every other company out there. There's so many coaches out there working on messaging and teaching messaging that companies all sound alike. If you experience this, whether it's your company, and if you go look at websites or you look at a flyer brochure and you read what they do and you compare it with 3 to 4 other companies that are all competitive, what's the big differentiator? Normally, it's not there. A lot of companies they got this new thing. There's a lot of AI. We get to do this differently. We're looking for ways to stand out, and normally, the easy way is to use features, functions that we've built into our offering. Again, I'm gonna share this. The challenge for all of us is none of that is as different as we think. None of it is as different as we want. The second challenge that we have with that is that our buyers are being bombarded. They are bombarded with information because there's so many automation tools. There's tools for cold calling. People are hiring, as I say, put lots of butts in seats and have them smile and dial. We're getting so inundated, and we all have our phones on us all the time. But most of the time, we look at the call coming in. We don't know who it is. We don't answer. Ask yourself, when was the last time you answered a call that you didn't know who it was? And the same thing with your email. I think most of us in the mornings, when we first check our email, our first motion is, how do I get rid of all the things that I don't want in my way? How do I find what's important to me and delete all the other messages that I don't want to deal with today? They might be totally relevant. They might be great services. They might be great products, but the channel of coming in on our email and cold email, or even LinkedIn DMs, it's not something that we're taking time to take a look at. And why is that? We don't need to. As buyers, we don't need to take our time to go look at information, because all the information is out there when we want to go see it. So that's our big challenge. And building trust is so important, because when people feel like they know leaders, when they recognize them because they see them, but it goes beyond seeing them. When leaders are sharing content about their journey, they're sharing what they're going through, they're sharing what they're living, what they're learning, what they've lived, what they've learned. That is different, and it's unique, because nobody else has that perspective. Nobody else has gone through the experiences that you've experienced. And so when that type of content is shared, it's a pattern interrupter. I mean, think about when you're scrolling through LinkedIn or any other social platform, and it's like the same. We just keep scrolling through. What type of content captures your attention? What makes you stop and pay attention and read something, or pay attention and watch a video? Most of the time, it's something more human. It's something that's more personal. And I don't mean personal like, let me tell you where I ate lunch, but it's personal about the journey. Hey, here's something I've learned. Here's something I've been experiencing. I've been observing this. I've been in this industry for X amount of years, and I see this is taking place. Hey, I feel this is going on. That type of content that comes from our humanity stops people in their scroll. It gets people to stop and pay attention, because we want to learn and know what other people are going through, because, well, one, we don't want to feel like we're the only one, right? But it's also a great place for us to go and learn and join the journey. So as we're creating that type of content, we're actually building trust. We're building recognition. But in sharing our journey, we're creating that authority and that thought leadership, and that how we think and who we are and the way that we do things. So the challenge is that traditional sales tactics are just not creating the results. I call centers, and I loved call centers when they worked. The challenge now, I spoke with somebody this morning, a sales leader in a company, and I was asking about what they're doing and how it was working, and just, being curious what the experience was. And he shared with me basically what we're talking about today. We're doing the cold outreach because we're not really sure what else to do. And we're doing it in the same method that, this is my words, not his, but when I asked, like, well, what are you sharing? What's it? Well, we call and we tell them about our offering and what we do, and we tell them why it's different. We leave a voicemail, and we're getting very, very few returned calls. With the same thing with email. We've got, here's what we do, here's how it's different, here's what the value proposition, standard, right? That sounds good. The challenge is they're not getting the responses. And I'll go back to what I said at the beginning. We're not getting those responses because there's so much information. Everybody sounds the same. We're not standing out. There's not a, what's going on here moment to pause them, because it all sounds the same. So when we're doing this, we're spending a lot of time. I don't know about you guys, but how much time are we spending with tactics that aren't really working? We're burning out our sales teams. We're burning out our marketers. Try something different, change the messaging. We're trying. And really what we end up doing is spending a lot of money, a lot of effort, and a lot of energy. And it leads to stress. It leads to fear. It leads to teams that have so much uncertainty that team members are starting to look for other roles because I don't see the needle moving. This isn't going anywhere. Where I need to start looking for my next role, and then they're divided, right? Their mindset's divided. They're trying to do something. Their passion and heart is in it, but it's not working, and it burns people out. So bottom line for us is we keep doing the same function. We keep doing the same actions without change of success. And companies aren't moving because they're not sure what else to do. Now, what's at stake with all this is burnout, is loss of revenue, lack of growth, and so much fear that comes with it. But the turning point is the change that's happening right now. And I saw an example today that is Pink's window cleaning service. If you haven't looked them up, what they're bringing in their content is their humanity. They're showing now. Look, I get it. It's B2C. I've shared other B2B examples. I just saw this one this morning. It was relevant, but don't throw it out going, oh, well, that's B2C. Our buyers are all consumers. Our buyers are all in business and buying for their business. But the way they've engaged with companies as a consumer is influencing the way they choose and want to engage with companies in the B2B environment. So what we're seeing on Instagram, what we're seeing on TikTok, what's capturing our attention, maybe, yeah, from a consumer standpoint, but it's influencing then the type of content that they want to see, the type of content that's capturing their attention. And, I almost want to just pause right there and not really talk about anything else. I mean, that is so important when we look at all of us, whether we're in a business or we're wearing the hat of being just a consumer, being a human, being a parent, being a homeowner, whatever it may be, the type of content that's capturing our attention is that humanity content. I think we're wired, and I don't want to get into, anyone's religion or anything, but I believe that we are all wired. And I see this with humanity. We're wired to connect with other people. And so when our content is leading with people and sharing journey, sharing experience, sharing what we're thinking, sharing what we're going through, it captures attention and it sticks more in the heart, which leads to the brain, instead of going straight to the brain that tends to be, sounds like everybody else, and off it goes, and it doesn't have that sticking power. Our challenge is, how do we get out of it? We've been doing content for, say, the past 15 years-ish, really the same. Our blogs, our emails, our newsletters, our website messaging, it's all focused on the value proposition. It's all focused on features and functions. A key thing for us to remember is that logic causes people to think, but emotion causes people to act. Emotion brings people back. They want to see what's next. They want to see what you're going to share. They want to be more involved because we will naturally find community. Even if we're scrolling and we find people that say things that capture our attention, we'll give them a follow. We'll subscribe. But if we just talk about the functions and the features, we're not inviting them into that emotion. And emotion, as much as we may not like it, humans, our buyers, are emotional people, and they're gonna respond and act from those emotions. So that emotional resonance turns passive content into conversations. So think about this. When somebody reads your next post, how do you want them to feel? We tend to create content to promote and share our value proposition, which is very logical, instead of creating content that helps them feel something. What we found over the years is the easiest way to get people to feel and to lean in is when humans are sharing their journey. They're sharing what they've experienced. I know I say this a lot. What have they experienced? What have they lived? What have they learned? What are they currently living? What are they currently learning? What are you observing? What are you feeling in the industry? That captures attention because it's true thought leadership. Now, I don't mean like you got the big one or two people in an industry that really drive thought leadership, but your own thought leadership from your own experience is the uniqueness that you and your company bring to the table that nobody else can. So executives, we have to look, if this whole conversation is about buyers trust people, not brands. The challenge for leaders is to show up and share their journey and build that trust from human to human in order to get them more interested in the brand. I look back, I grew up in the 80s, started going in business in the 90s. And I always look back and go, what did Steve Jobs do with Apple? Like Apple was dying, right? They were up and coming and they were new. And then later they were dying and Steve Jobs brought them back. But he did the same playbook each time. What did he do? He showed up. Now they have big budgets, right? He was in magazines, he was in newspapers, he was in podiums, but he was sharing the lived experience of creating and what the creation was what the products, the Mac was bringing. He shared what the community was doing with the product, how they were using it to build better lives. He showed up and was sharing from personal experience the journey that he was going through, and that elevated the brand. Why did this happen? Because we relate with people more than we relate with brands. But when we connect with the person, we connect with their stories, we connect with their experiences, we connect with their thinking, then the brand comes along with it. So brands alone, they don't break through the noise. So if your logo vanished tomorrow, would people still know it's you talking? Would they still have that connection to you? Guys, this whole episode is about connecting and not promoting. So what tiny slice of your life could you share this week that would start a real conversation? Think about conversations you're having with current clients or with prospects. What questions are they asking? What challenges are they facing? If it's not the call to action I have for you is taking that risk. Now, before I talk about this, I'm going to say I get it. It's hard. Putting ourselves out there and sharing, it's risky, it's scary, it's uncomfortable. It's a new muscle. But just like any, workout or new diet or anything that we take on, at first it's going to be uncomfortable. And our tendency is that we want to quit, right? We tried it. It didn't work. I tried it. Nobody responded. I did a show. I only got a couple comments or people aren't signing up. It's scary. I get it. But what I think is even more scary is doing the same activities that we've done for years because it's comfortable, but not getting the results that we need to help our company be successul. I'm going to take a look. Jeff's got a comment here that I'm trying to read while I talk, so let me read it. Does the risk of sounding the same as everyone else challenge us to resist the use of AI, which by definition is created by everyone else? For me, when I share personal humanity in my posts, whether a personal experience from my day or a reference to my dogs, my impressions skyrocket. Yeah, Jeff, thanks for that. And I know you and I have been walking alongside each other for a couple years now, and you've shared that with me multiple times. And I want to address something for people that are listening, going, yeah, that's great. Your impressions skyrocket. But so what? Here's the big so what. People trust people, not brands. When we build that level of trust because we're bringing our humanity, and I'll pause for a second again, doesn't mean we share everything, right? If you're struggling with that, we do a messaging playbook, get into your core pillars. It's 3 core pillars around the business side and 1 to 2 pillars around your humanity. And it gives you a focus of the type of content that you're creating consistently, but building a strategy of saying, what part of my humanity am I willing to bring into this public sphere? And I would say it's much like thinking if you're at a dinner, have a couple of clients there, maybe you have a couple of prospects there, there's a couple of colleagues there. We don't chat 100% of the time about business. In fact, I would say it ends up being 90% non-business. It's all about connecting and building relationship and rapport with people. So the question is, what topics are you willing to talk about in that environment? And where is the ability to create like pillars to build a strategy around bringing that consistently into your content? And I would say for leaders, we don't even necessarily have to pull in a ton of our humanity, but if you share, what have you lived? What have you learned? What are you living and what are you learning? That's the humanity that we bring into the B2B world. That's the differentiator and is content that people are interested in because it brings our humanity. It keeps it focused in business, but it's sharing information that no one else in the world can share because it's coming from inside of your thoughts, your feelings, your experiences. So I move towards a side like Jeff shared when I bring in references to my family and talk about me. One of my favorite things is how do we take more of a personal picture maybe and bring in your experiences. Like I'll share pictures when I'm hiking or when I'm out working out, but I'll share what was I thinking while I was doing it around my business or around my customers or around the industry and marry those together. It's like building this target that people want to come to. It's like the humanity part is pulled in from the heart, like, oh, you're on a hiking trail, you're here, you're there. I found when I travel and take pictures in the airports, my impressions go way up. People are curious. Where are you going? What are you doing? Is it cool? Have I been there? Like their own humanity comes in and is curious and wants to know more. And then when we add the message around what, where we're going, but I was at the airport waiting for my flight. I was thinking about a conversation I had yesterday. And this is what we were talking about. The challenge is this. So we're marrying the two together. And we're bringing humanity and bringing experience and standing out very, very differently than just brand content that's about value proposition, features, functions, services, even case studies. I mean, case studies are challenged now because we have so many opportunities to go find out about services and products from other people, from review sites, from our network. Hey, have you ever used them? That we even bypass case studies, or a lot more people are bypassing case studies because we know the brand is obviously going to bring their best foot forward. And then there's even the question of, well, I've bought things before that didn't work. Do I believe their case study? Would their case study be relevant to me and my unique circumstances? I go back a lot to the book, The Jolt Effect, and Matt Dixon was on my other show, and we were talking about the concept of FOMO. So years ago, if you know, Matt was also the co-author of the Challenger Sale, which I got back here as well. But Challenger Sale was a lot of pushing the FOMO. Hey, this is new, this is different. What if your customers grab a hold of this? There was a season where it worked, but a lot of companies got burned. They were buying SaaS products, or buying services, or buying tools that weren't really working. And now there's a shift in buyers. And if you haven't read this, I mean, full of data, full of research, I'm not just making this up. The shift now is not FOMO, but it's FOMO. It's the fear of messing up. They're just more cautious. So when our messaging, our strategy is led with people, leaders sharing their journey, sharing their experiences, trust follows quicker. Let me say again, the trust follows quicker because they're resonating with a human, and they're sharing the ups, the downs, how they think, how they approach things. It's no longer just, hey, look at this case study, we achieved this. But when you're getting on the inside of how you're doing things, customers you're working with, what were their challenges? How did you think about it? How did you solve it? What's the journey that they went on? What's the journey that you led them on? Then they're starting to get a sense of the holistic company, the people behind it. Now, I'm gonna, the big call to action for me with today is leaders need to lead with their voice. Leaders need to lead with their person. Leaders need to lead with sharing their journey. And I know it's hard. I know it's challenging. I loved it when I had a call center and it was working. I had a call center and we were, producing thousands and thousands of dollars of new revenue every day. I would go back to that in a heartbeat if I thought it would work. But the data suggests it's not working as well. It's an expensive proposition. Now, that said, I don't want to throw all of it out. Here's my model. Here's what we've seen work time and time again. The top, leader-led content, getting your leaders seen, heard, and sharing their journeys. The next tier down is, how do we do that? And it really is anchored in that, what I call emotionally resonant content. It's content that resonates emotionally with your audience, where they go, I feel that. I've experienced that. I've done that as well. Oh my gosh, this makes sense to me. I get it. That emotional resonance, not only does it make us stand out, but it helps us be remembered. And then when we use that content to fuel the outbound engine, so it's fueling all the content that goes out. It influences your blog and your SEO strategy. It fuels your paid ads. It fuels your emails, whether it's sales emails or it's marketing emails and newsletters. The voice that the company is bringing is more human, and that human element, I don't know any other way of saying it. We're leading with humanity, and because humans are designed to connect with other humans way quicker, way better than they are with a brand message or a value proposition, and we created it the leader. We strategize it to make sure that we're tapping into that emotional resonance. And then we put all that content into the outbound and inbound engines. That's where the flywheel starts to work. I've shared a lot of different stories of either, my friends or customers and their experiences with it. I'll share a story that I just had recently, and it was somebody I ran into in our office, and kind of an acquaintance, didn't know them all that well, but they stopped me and said, hey, I've been paying attention to your content. I've got a question. And we started having this chat about what leader-led content could look like in their business. The reason I share that story, it's not one of these big ones, right? It's not like, oh, and they signed $1 million contract and POs fell out of the sky. I want to be realistic. But what it did is it got this person to stop me in a hallway lobby entrance of our co-working facility and said, I've been paying attention, and they came to me. They wanted to have a conversation with me. Now, the question is this: if all of our content was product, service, promotion, value proposition, would they have stopped me? I don't know. Maybe. But what the data would tell you is that content would have been highly ignored. I would not have been top of mind. They wouldn't have had that sense of, I know this person. I want to learn more. I want to talk. I want to have a chat. And they may have walked by and said, hi, but they wouldn't have stopped me and said, hey, I have a question. I've been reading your stuff. I've been watching your videos. They said, by the way, I love the Jeep Thoughts video. That's really cool. That style of content, I'll just unpack this as I wrap up today. That style of video, Jeff referenced his dog. And I know I've seen lots of posts with his dog and referencing back to different parts of business, and sometimes not. He just talks about his relationship with his dog and why it's so important to him. But people out there resonate with that who have dogs and have great relationships, and they stop and they pause and they comment and they chat and they have these human experiences. And oh yeah, I remember Jeff and I remember what Jeff does. But I share that story because the need is to take the risk. The need is to take the risk in putting ourselves out there. I know fear is a big thing. I'm very grateful. It seems like we're moving out of this cancel culture. I think we say really, really stupid things. There's consequences. But I think we're moving out of that, and there's more freedom there to come alongside and with your business and say, let me start sharing more of my journey. Let me share more of what's going on, the insights and the way that I'm thinking. So today, this week, you need me to be an encouragement, keep you accountable. I hate the word accountable, but be an encouragement to you. Pull out your phone. Think about a conversation you've had recently with a prospect or a client, maybe even another business owner, another sales rep in a different company. And you shared like what you're going through. You bonded over, yeah, this is hard, or hey, I found this is working well. What do you think? Take one of those topics and just share it. And here's a very simple framework. I was having a conversation with, you don't have to use their name, you can use their title. They're in this industry. The topic or the question was blah, blah, blah. And here's a couple of points from the conversation that we had that I thought that I took away that were most valuable to me. And I think they might be valuable to you. If you don't like video, I know a lot of people, it's hard. I don't like seeing myself on camera. I don't like my voice. I had someone this morning on a call tell me, I sent him a voice note and we were on a call this morning and he said, hey, by the way, I wanted to let you know, you have a cool voice. That voice note you sent me, I really like I want you to read Dr. Seuss to me, is what he said. That was really cool, especially because I don't like my own voice. A lot of us don't like our own voice. So if you don't want to be on video, you don't like your voice, then maybe you write it. But take that step. And the encouragement is what you've lived, what you experienced, what you're observing, what you're feeling, it's relevant. I don't care if you're 2 days into a job or 30 years into an industry. Not only is it relevant, but that's the type of content that stops people and gets them to pay attention, gets more people to comment, and builds network. And at the end of the day, not only do people do business with those who they know, like, and trust, but all of our opportunities come through people. And what I've seen over the years, and I have not been the best networker throughout a large portion of my career, but what I've seen is those who have the biggest networks, the biggest good relationships with people, they always seem to land on their feet. They always seem to be more successful. They always seem to be doing really well. And it comes through the power of community. And we have this opportunity through these platforms As soon as I'm done here, I'm going to go get my car. I've got a lunch meeting. I'm going to go pop in on a little gathering of people. I wouldn't even say a networking event, but at the end of today, outside of my show, I might be able to meet with probably 5 or 6 people, which is great in the face-to-face. But through my social content, through the show, the videos, the other pieces we send it out with our blogs and our newsletters and everything else, I get in front of thousands, tens of thousands of people every week. And this is what you can do too. So leaders, whether you're a sales rep, a sales leader, you're at the C-suite, my encouragement to you is go find that muscle. I know it's hard. I know it's different. We go and do workouts and we find that we had muscles that we didn't know existed because now they're sore. But with all the challenges we have to be heard, to be seen, to earn, to generate leads and conversations, the data shows, the data suggests, the data proves that our humanity and that humanity style of content is really the best thing that we can do to fill our pipelines and to create more conversations and to give us a much, much better chance of being more successful. Now, I love saying this, and Carson Cohetti, who's co-host in one of my other show, Mastering Modern Selling, he always says, if there's something that I can do that's going to give me a little bit more of an opportunity to be more successful, I'm going to do it. Leader-led content, humanity content, bringing our person into our messaging and our content. It's not a little step into being more successful. It's a huge step. Because as much as we're all scared to do this type of content, so are our competition. So are other people. That's why I think AI's affected this, but for the longest time, LinkedIn it was like 98% of people did not publish content on a regular basis. What does that mean? Well, it means the 2% that are, well, they're building their brand, their personal brand. They're building their reputation. They're building network. They're building relationships. So do we want to sit on the sidelines, watch because we're nervous? Or do we want to jump in and start trying to figure this out? Now, I think back when I first started doing cold calls, when I first got out of school and became a sales rep, it scared the crap out of me. But after a while, I got better. After a while, I was more successful. After a while, the heart stopped pounding whenever I picked up the phone in mid-dial. You know that, right? When the phone's ringing, you're like, your heart's going crazy. You're like, ah. But after we do it for a while, it becomes second nature. So the question is, if you're not satisfied with the outcomes you're getting from the outreach that you're doing, maybe there's a better way of doing outreach. And I know I've seen it. This style of content creation fuels outreach to be much more effective and builds a lot more conversations. And through conversations, we have our opportunities, and through our opportunities, we get more signed contracts and grow our companies. So, hey, thanks everybody that joined me this morning, Jeff and Butch and other people that if you're watching the recording or you're listening on the podcast, I'd love to know what you think. What are you finding that's working right now in content? What are you finding, even if it's not in content? What's helping you create more conversations and more opportunities in a way that would benefit other people? I heard this thing this week. I'm going to end on this, and it has really nothing to do with exactly what we're talking about today. But I had somebody was sharing with me, they read on a blog article that everything in nature serves something else. And the example they gave is a fruit tree doesn't eat its own fruit. It produces fruit for another being to eat. And the ocean produces evaporation that creates clouds that move over land and then drops water on the land, and that nourishes and helps feed the land. And what it reminded me of is that the more we serve, the more we're aligned with the way the world is supposed to work. So if you're finding something that's working well for you, share it in the comments. Help everyone else out. Let's go and learn and do these things together. So, hey, if this show is sponsored by Fist Bump, which is a company that I started a little bit ago, primarily because I saw this big need to help leaders be more confident and create content to help lead their companies and help their teams create more opportunities. So if you need some help in that area, everything from having a very strategic show to doing different types of content. But the main thing is, I want to make sure that we always remember this. It's not about creating content. LinkedIn is not a magic bullet, but the style of content feeds the outbound engines, whether it's through social, it's through email, it's through SEO, even through calls. It's the type of content that captures attention and builds that emotional connection that then starts to create more. Yes, let's have a chat. Yes, I want to learn more. I've been watching you guys. I've been paying attention. I want to carve out time to spend with you and learn more. And ultimately, that's the goal, right? We all want to be successful at what we do. So, hey, everybody, thanks so much. Tom, I just saw your comment come up. Thanks for joining. I'm glad the message hits home. For everyone else out there, love to hear your thoughts. What's working? What's not working? And let's bring this into the community and all help each other do better. So thanks for joining us. The show is called Revenue Through Reputation because we only create revenue based on how strong our network is, how many people know us, how many people we know. And that's what we're here to talk about. How do we do that better to fill our pipeline? So thank you, everybody. Appreciate you. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you next week.